Hi friends, it's Reverend Laurie with Unity of Ocala, and today is Groundhog's Day. You'll get this video tomorrow on Wednesday, February 3rd, but today is a very cold Groundhog's Day. I'm wearing my kayaking sweatshirt, but it is in no way tempting me to get out on that water. Not today. I'm looking outside as the wind is blowing and there's white caps on my little lake out there. And I'm wondering how in the world I survived the Colorado Rockies. I was raised on a horse ranch, an Arabian horse ranch, in a little cowboy town very close to Telluride, Colorado. We were at 8,000 feet. And this is nothing compared to that cold. We used to have to feed the horses in the morning, and the snow would be up to our thighs. We would have to pull the bales of hay over the top of the snow, break the horses' water, the ice that would form on the top of their water overnight, and try to get them to quickly get these oat bags on their noses so they could eat and I could get down to the school bus. Really, that happened. I'm so spoiled now, but I do miss those mountains. They will always be in my heart. So we've been talking about the power of the mystical realms of all the religions of the world and how they interweave with each other to form this magical spiritual dance that we call life. I lean on all the great religions and traditions of the world, for in Unity we teach that there are many paths to God, many paths to God. And as we look deeply at the spiritual teachings above the dogma and tenets of the religions and the rules, we see such a beautiful spiritual depth of understanding. And so this first part of the year, we're looking at Kabbalah teachings, the teachings of the Jewish mystics, and their look at the sacred writings and of the Torah, especially how they've transformed it into the Zohar, or the essence of all creation. We're looking at those basic rules of life, the game of life. They call this delightful writer, Yehuda Berg, calls it the rules to playing the game of life. And we've looked at those first two rules. I'm just going to go over them quickly to remind you. And then today we're going to look at the next three clumped together, and I'll explain why. But these are the first couple of rules of the Kabbalah's 13 rules of the game of life. Number one, don't believe a word you read. Test drive these lessons yourself. Come to your own conclusions. God gave you a brilliant, challenging mind, inquisitive and constantly curious. So try these on yourself. Let your heart, your cells, your mind tell you what fits. Rule two basic realities exist. This world that we're walking, this journey that we're on, there are two realities. There is the 1% darkness and the 99% light. The challenge is the human exists in that 1% darkness. The joy is, and task at hand, we have access to that light anytime we decide. And as we learn the spiritual rules, the spiritual laws, just like physical laws, there are spiritual laws, then we develop these tools that help us access that light on a regular, sustained basis. Heaven is at hand. Jesus taught us. The kingdom of heaven is here now. So this is about opening up to that light, breaking through the veil. Rule number 3, everything that a human being truly desires from life is spiritual light. This is a hard lesson to learn. It takes sometimes a lifetime, maybe many lifetimes, that the human being thrives and survives on desire. That is the core essence of our being. If not for desire, we would not exist. We have a desire innately, unawareingly, to exit the womb. We have a desire to eat, a desire to thrive, a desire to survive. And when we get comfortable and go above Maslow's pyramid of what we need to fulfill those desires, to live, to exist, then we get comfortable. And instead of merely surviving, finding shelter and clothing and food and water, then we start desiring the things of spirit. But they're cloaked in things of lust and greed. We desire more money. We desire a better position. We desire fame, notability, comfort, peace, abundance, love. But all of that is the same yearning, the same desire for God, for the lightness. It's not the money that we crave so much or think we crave so much. It's the security and peace that we think that money will bring. It's not that perfect partner that we crave and desire so desperately. It's the peace and security that we think that person will provide us. Do you see? This innate quality, power in us of desire only desires that light. And we go about every way we can to fill that ache. You know, Myrtle had a great, deep, dear fondness for addicted people, addicted to anything, anybody imprisoned by a substance, by a mind inflection, she would call it. Anytime there is a prisoner of something, there is a hunger in them so deep, so raw, and so ready that these are the ones that can be filled with the love of God. For those that are complacent and are not searching and seeking for some sort of hunger, are not able to grow and experience the depth of that yearning. She would say, give me an addict every day of the week, for I will feed them the nourishment of God. I will teach them how to hunger for the things that will truly satisfy them. Oh, she had it all along. The purpose of life, this is rule number 4. The purpose of life is spiritual transformation from a reactive being to a proactive being. Herein lies our work. So again, don't believe all these things that I'm reading to you. Try them on. Begin with rule number 1. Don't believe things, know them. Know them. Don't believe what people tell you about God. Experience it. Use some of these tools. Experience it yourself. Think of the ways that you have allowed yourself to remain in that 1% darkness. What does that look like to you? When are you in darkness? What does that feel like? For me, being in that 1% darkness is when I'm fearful, when I don't know if we're going to make the bills this week. I don't know if I'm going to have a job next year. I don't know if my husband will make it. That's the darkness. That's about as far away from God as I can get, because I know that it does not feel like the love of God. So, what are the things that allow me to feel the brightness, the security, the peace, the love, the joy, the elation, the abundance of God? For me, it's doing my work. And my work is joy. I shouldn't even call it work. It's play. Spending time in my garden. Spending time watching the miracles of seeds turning into flowers and plants and edible veggies. That amazes me. Watching a bird build a nest. I had a Carolina wren that laid 4 eggs in one of my flower pots out on my porch at my studio. The screen was ripped on the porch a little bit. She was able to get in there. And my son and I were cleaning out, and he said, oh, we got 4 eggs in this pot. It was one of those planters that have the pieces out for strawberries and that. She'd build her nest in one of those little sections. And I said, well, we can't put the screen up because they're going to be born. And I would watch that little mama come back to her nest back and forth. And then I heard the little babies one morning, and I saw her bringing little bugs and little things for them to eat. And they were loud and getting louder. And when she was gone, I would peek into the nest and see their little, this was just a miracle to me. And when they were ready to leave the roost, she had to get them out of that little break in the screen. I opened it a little wider for her when she wasn't there. And I had this wire fencing there in the screen. And she would jump up on that wire fencing, which was near the entrance, and she would just squawk at those babies. And pretty soon a little fat one would come out and go back in and come out and get on the edge of that planter. I was watching this from my studio window. I don't know why I didn't film it. I was just in such awe this morning. It happened so quickly. And then that little baby would jump up with her, and she'd fly out onto a branch, squawk and squawk and squawk and squawk. And sure enough, one of those little fledglings, now flying critters, would follow her. She'd come back and do it again and again and again. Well, the fourth baby, I imagine, I'm calling him Melvin. I don't know why. He just looked like Melvin to me. He did not want to leave his nest. And he was so fat, he could barely get out of that little container. You know, that's Mother Nature. She will make sure your nest is uncomfortable enough when you're ready to leave it. We should learn that as adults, right? As people. Well, he just did not. He was squawking back at her. She would squawk on the wire fence, and he would squawk. I could just see his little beak. He didn't even want to. When he got his little pudgy body out and onto the rim, she squawked and squawked and squawked and squawked, and he jumped to the ground. Then he jumped back to the nest. Then he jumped to the ground. Then he jumped back. Oh, my Lord, this went on. It seemed like all day. Well, it wasn't, but then he'd jump up on the fence and then back down and then back to the nest and then down and then the fence and then down. And I thought, oh, good Lord, that is me sometimes, looking for the light, being too afraid to fly. And she'd had it. She went out on the limb with all her other babies and just started squawking. They were just squawking, squawking, squawking at him like, get the heck out of there now. Eventually, he got up onto the fence, crawled up on the screen a little bit, and then took off. And I had to give him a standing ovation. That's how I find the light. I was so joyous. We mended the screen right away. I did not want that happening again in there. I was so joyous. And that just made me happy. My husband was an avid fisherman, and his church, his Sunday, was spent with God on that water. That is where he just got nurtured and filled, and he would come back so joyous and at peace, for God is in nature. I also find that feeling, that life, that newness when I help people, when I play with children, when I learn new things, when I paint. These are the things that free me. These are the tools. And there's also the tools that we use in spiritual circles to really help ground us. Developing these 12 powers, the power of faith, of real faith, not fickle faith, putting our faith in God and in the things of spirit and in the things of kindness and compassion and holding the high watch, putting faith in prayer, the power of love. The purpose of life is the purpose of life is spiritual transformation from being reactive to proactive. This is our week's lesson. This is one of the tools that will give you the quickest access to that 99% light. You'll get a flash of it. You'll get a glimmer. And it is simply to not be reactive. I'm watching A Handmaid's Tale. I don't know why, but now I'm hooked. I have to see it through the end. If what really affected you these past 4 years, especially with what might have happened, this may not be the time to watch this, because we came really close to this dystopian fiction. Really close. But to me, it's opening up my eyes to a lot of the reasons why I'm as reactive about certain things as I've been. why I've been an activist all my life, why I have to have a happy ending to things. I'm really doing a lot of introspective thinking about my journey, my reactiveness. And I'm channeling that rage in me into how then can I be proactive? This has been a great lesson for me. So this week, let us just observe what we're reacting to and how we're reacting. That's all. There's no judgment, okay? No judgment in the spiritual realm whatsoever. I'll tell you a story about that next week that just blew my mind, changed my life. I had a visitor from the other side of the veil. Oh, Lord. Anyways, this is our homework assignment, and it's a joy. Non-reactiveness. Something tries to push your button. A person, a situation, a broadcast, a politician, an ex-friend, an ex-spouse, whatever, a child, a grocery store bill, whatever. If something gets your rile up, now I can always tell if I'm going into proactive mode because I go into fight mode. I can feel my body ready to respond, to dig through that wealth of knowledge that I've stuffed in there all these years and all these degrees to form a case to come against you. My body does it. And I remember what Myrtle Fillmore taught the teachers at ministerial school. And we surround ourselves with that light and we watch this, that cause of us to react. Stop and watch. Don't immediately react, for that is coming from the left side of the brain. And that is causing you to either flee, freeze, or fight. Your body will tell you which of these modes that you're going into, and that is pure reactive being, pure human being. That's okay. You're human too, but just observe. Sometimes when I'm having a conversation, I will feel myself bowing up. And when I recognize it, I can simply say, I'm not in a spiritual space to have this conversation right now. Can we talk tomorrow? And it has served me very well because then I have time to think about the reactivity and how then can I move into proactive, which we'll talk about next week. But for now, it's simply recognizing the reactiveness, just recognizing it. What do you go into? You want to hang up and run? Stomp your foot and slam the door? Ooh, I've done that too. Your body, your cells will tell you. That's God communicating with you. And if you just breathe, eat some popcorn, watch the movie, but be careful because your children may use it against you, because to this day, my kids will tell me if I call them to share something with them that I think maybe they need to hear, they will tell me, Mother, I'm not in a spiritual space to have this conversation. Can you call me tomorrow? I had that coming, and yes, they still use it on me. It's a progress. But that's it. That's your assignment. We're already halfway through these steps. And by the end of this process, we're entering Lent as with new goggles on and a new way to look at our journey. Let's leave our time together. I've probably gone over. Sorry, Jean. Let's leave our time of this love notes. Oh, this new poet friend of mine, Shalane Harkin. I'm going to find more things that are hers. Shalane Harkin, Susceptible to Light. Sit on this one this week. God will break your heart. God will break your heart when she's hungry for new, open space in which she can sing through. Watch for the cracks. I love you. God loves you. We are so blessed and spoiled in Florida. I'll see you Sunday. Stay warm.